day 3, I think. I'm not keeping any track of this at all. Day 3 of no Lego content. Although you'll see Lego in the background. Josh was in here. It was cold outside. We just came in from a walk. So Josh built stuff. This is his room too. I had something really poignant to say. I posted something very, very quickly on Facebook, my Facebook, and I can't read it to you because my phone's right there. I was thinking about it. We went to a friend's place yesterday to celebrate his job promotion, and we had Chinese food. It was awesome. But en route, the Coles Notes, which will be longer than any kind of Coles Notes you've ever seen, the Coles Notes version is basically saying the world, every country of the world must start to wean itself off of the U.S. I know for the past 80-ish years, they have become the focal point of basically literally everything. Politics, entertainment, blah, blah, blah. For good or bad. And is that a trans red? I have a trans red antenna right there. For a great many things. And some of it's been good. And again, overall, the pluses that the American exceptionalism attitude towards themselves and towards the world has had some bad points, but overall, up until relatively recently, it has been a lot of good to the world. There has been bad, and I won't even couch that. And I'm not going to list specifics that we know of and the stuff we don't even know of, the meddling in the affairs of other countries, the cause of their own issues, meddling in the affairs of other countries. But overall, this is my couch potato take on history and knowing some stuff. Xenophobia was kind of built into the American system up until World War II. They actually had on law that they would not help foreign countries fight. It was one of their laws, which FDR, at the beginning of, when the rest of the world, quote unquote rest of the world, was involved in World War II, the Americans officially stayed out of it in 1939. The Americans were not getting involved in it because it was not only legislated into law, but the American people, no, we're not interested in the foreign affairs of others. They'll handle it. So when Churchill was fighting off the Nazis, the Americans were sitting behind their border with their laws and saying, we're not going to help. But again, so this is the part where I'm going to say FDR, which if you talk to half of America, was one of the best presidents of all time, and you talk to the other half of America, he was one of the worst presidents of all time. And you guys who think he was the worst president of all time are ranking up there with the worst president. I'm not saying he was perfect. There has not been one perfect president. But for anybody who has any sense that can say FDR was a bad president, you can just like I said yesterday, don't watch this channel. Because you're buying the ensconced and fatuous rhetoric of the stupidity of people who hate socialism. But anyway, I'm going to try not to go down that path. FDR, the president of the United States, when the rest of the world was at war, parked some planes at the border. Just parked them. Just put those planes over there near the Canadian border. And who knows what might happen to them. And surreptitiously in the night, in the dark of the night, horses would drag those planes across the border to Canada, and they were used in the war effort. Because he knew what the right thing to do was, but his country wasn't on his side yet. But I also believe fundamentally, and I don't know I didn't read his biography or anything like that. I fundamentally believe that he knew at that time between 1939 and, oh, wait, what was it? December 7th, 1941, that the Americans were somehow going to be drawn into the war. And again, there's a conspiracy theories that he knew it was going to happen and he just let it happen without warning anybody. Whatever. The rest of the world was already at war for 2 years before the Americans showed up. And yet they believe to this day, you go to talk to many Americans, they won the war. Bullshit, but we needed, my dad, who is a wonderful historian who reads a ton of books about everybody, and his entire library consists half of books about Churchill. We have the discussion all the time. Would the Allies have won the war without the Americans coming into it after December 7th? I don't know. It's hard to say. But my point was, win or lose, you stand up to bullies. And Hitler was a bully. Period. Pure and simple. And there's many, many bad things about him, blah, blah. But he walked into Poland, and he was a peace in our time, and that went out the window really quick. He was going to conquer the world, and he wouldn't have stopped. And so you have to stand up to bullies. You have to. I've been told that literally my entire life. You have to stand up to bullies. So Churchill knew from the get-go that you stand up to bullies. And again, not the most perfect person in the world in the history of humanity, but he stood up, and the line must be drawn here, no further. Anyway, not to quote Star Trek. And so anyway, the Americans publicly were not supportive of the wars out there, and until December 7th happened, and then they were kind of punched in the nose to come into the war, which is fine, because it was needed, whether it was needed to win the war or shorten the war for the win for us. Prognostications can give or take. I did love Sam's little line in The West Wing, where at the beginning of the war, Americans did not have an infrastructure to build planes and tanks and whatever. And at the end of the war, they were building. Well, I think my dad had to quote, the Americans were building ships and launching ships faster than the Germans could build torpedoes. Now, whether that's a euphemism or whatever, but it seems true that the Americans were building ships to launch faster than the Germans were building torpedoes to sink the ships at the end of the war, and 100,000 planes. Like the infrastructure of America, you do, and I know this. This is just historical since 1776. You do not. They're like raccoons. You do not. They're like mama bears. You do not corner an American. You do not put America in a corner. Nobody puts America in a corner. Deep cut. Because they will. They are the quintessential. And you watch all the movies, and this is my entire life. You get all the movies that say you think they're down and out, they're at their lowest point, and they will just throw anything against the wall. They'll Hail Mary, whatever, and they'll come out on top. You do not. So I respect and I appreciate what America has done for the world. I have respect and appreciate what they did in World War II. I respect and appreciate what I've seen in my life from America and Americans. That does not give carte blanche. That does not give the wherefore or the ability or the go ahead to do whatever you want to whomever you want, ever, like literally ever. Just because you have done good in the past doesn't mean you can get away with doing bad now, because look at the American exceptionalism, look how good we were, look the world needs us. No, the world doesn't need you. The world wants you to be an equal partner. The world wants you to be considerate of other countries without talking about taking them over for no other reason as your inflated ego. The world doesn't need America to be the way America is today. nobody Americans don't need America to be the way America is being talked about by the leader of America today. Oh my God, it is so disheartening to watch the news, and I have just outright stopped. What the doofus in charge did to Zelensky, and the guy's fighting a war, and you're worried about his wardrobe. Like, are you kidding me? It is exceptionally. This is the conceit. This is. I mean, I talked about Babylon 5 the other day. Again, many more tangents, by the way, coming up. I talked about Babylon 5 the other day. And I happened to catch a few clips a couple days ago with President Clark. And of course, it hang on to your hats, which is fantastic. But when they I don't know if JMS was I think he was a very good prognosticator of future events. Again, taking today's issues and putting them out into space 200 years from now. You have to freeze frame this show. Oh God, I can't remember the episode name, but it was when they're liberating Earth. The forces, the allies, if you want to call it, liberating Earth, when President Sheridan shows up on the Agamemnon, and the entire fleet are showing up to, and of course then President Clark turns the defense net onto the Earth and starts shooting missiles. It's going to blow up the Earth, because he knew he was going to lose. This is like the Hitler in his bunker. Which was, I thought, ironic. And then just like Hitler in his bunker, President Clark shoots himself in the head. But before he shot himself in the head, he was on that little piece of paper, and you have to watch it, and then you might have to understand the 4 seasons that came before it. But it was the lines that he had written out on the paper, and I think the exact quote was the ascension of the common man, all the way down the page. And then for each one of those lines, he circled a letter that basically spelled out scorched earth. He was going to blow up the planet because he didn't get his way. My issue right now is that it's abundantly clear after this weekend, what happened earlier, that Trump has no, respect or appreciation or elder statesmanship to appreciate the bigger picture, that the country does not revolve around him, that he has to be there for the country. And my concern after what I just saw and what everybody has just saw, and then again, the staunch right and are going to say, oh, he stood up to the man and blah, blah, blah. And anybody who says otherwise are traitors, and just, I guarantee I'm going to lose people off my feed. I don't care. If you are a Trump supporter, whatever, do what you want. Again, I'm walking this direction. If you don't want to walk with me, then see if I is. But don't let the door hit you, but no way out. If something happens where Trump does not get what he wants in the complete way that is going to satiate his ego, there is going to be a scorched earth scenario. Might not be like the President Clark where they're blowing up the eastern seaboard, but I can't see any other thing that would stop Trump because he's got a following that are going to follow him no matter if he burns down the planet. They think that he is the second coming of Christ. He is God Almighty incarnate on the planet. And as the savior of America, all these people who felt like they'd been downtrodden for all these white cis males who think for the last 15, 20, 30 years that their stature has fallen to like whatever, and they keep on saying to themselves, oh, we need somebody to speak for us, and that's Trump now. They're gonna follow him down the hole. They're gonna follow him down into scorched earth. They're going to say until they themselves are shown the bereftness of intelligence, the bereftness of society, the bereftness of sort of societal support, the bereftness of, because Trump doesn't care about you. Trump does not. Any supporter of Trump right now, besides Elon and Vance, he doesn't care about you. He wanted your vote. That's it. We've already seen that already, where people who were on the camera talking during the election saying, oh, Trump's going to be good for us, and he's going to reduce grocery prices, and he's going to reduce housing prices, and he's going to make my life better because he's the God-given gift to the U.S. Those same people are on now record because their family's been deported, even though they were born here, but they are not the right color or they're the right religion or the right whatever, and they're gone. Or the people who lost their jobs. The people who voted for him lost their jobs. The people who voted for him. So those people are already speaking up, saying, woe is me. Why did I vote for this guy? Why did I vote for this guy? I lost my family. They got deported back to wherever, even though they were born here, but their parents were born over there. They got shipped out. ICE came knocking on the door without any kind of, doesn't matter. Those guys are already regretting it. The pro-Trump people during the election process are already regretting that. And so the rest of you, because you have not been damaged yet, because you're still sitting there, you're white, male, Anglo-Saxon, Christian guy, you're sitting there, oh, doesn't matter that Puerto Rican or whatever, they're gone. Good for them. We don't need them in our country anyway. They're gone. The second Trump finds it advantageous to take you out too, he's not going to hesitate. He's already shown that he's not hesitating now. So it's like, oh my effing God. It is so disheartening to see how far in 80 years, how far the American experience and the American experiment has fallen. And yet you can see it in real time if you pay any attention to history, from FDR to now. And again, I mentioned this, FDR wasn't perfect. Nobody's ever perfect. FDR had some faults, some very major faults, but he knew what the right thing to do was when the right time was to get it done, in a lot of circumstances. And so people who keep on saying he was the worst president, you guys have no idea. You guys, I think 100 years, 200 years, 50 years, 4 years, people, a lot of people, except for the diehard, brainwashed, low information people, are going to say Trump literally, without any ambiguity, without any kind of whatever, he is demonstrably, I heard this on the radio, I can't remember, Buchanan, there was another one that was just a complete doofus in the American history as president. He's going to go down literally as the worst president ever because he doesn't care about America. You can see it in everything he says. It's about him. It's about his family. He can't shut up about Joe Biden, how bad, whatever. Biden could have been mad. I'm not American, so. But you're sitting in the seat now, dude, and all you are doing is attacking people who came before you, and you have done nothing. You haven't brought down grocery prices. You haven't brought reduced housing costs. Things are so much cheaper here in Canada right now than they are in the States. Oh, and then attacking other countries who have been your ally for literally centuries. And let's get them, and then siding. And this is why just mind-boggling. Siding with Russia over literally the rest of the world. And so what I said in my little spiel, which was only 2 paragraphs long, unlike this 19-minute tirade right now, basically I saying that the world has to wean itself off of America and start making our own trade negotiations with other countries directly, start talking amongst ourselves to take care of things ourselves, because we have become too reliant on, too dependent on America, because they have been, and yet Trump is acting like they're doing it for service for us. And I'm going, you guys doing it because you guys wanted to do it. We didn't ask you to be the world's police force. I'm going to mention back in the 70s, and that's only like 50 years ago. What was Canada known for back in the 70s? Peacekeeping missions. We went all over the world as Canadian soldiers. Not me, because I was like 5. For peacekeeping missions, to keep the peace, to try to keep the peace. And that stopped because America just kind of, we'll take care of that. We'll take care of this. We'll take care of, and then they started their little wheeling and dealing shenanigans. You get Ollie North there in front of Congress. You get Reagan doing whatever. You get Cheney, and you get the Rumsfelds, who are appointing people, who are meddling in the affairs of other countries. The chickens come home to roost at some point, and we've seen it coming home to roost many, many times over the past 40 years for America. We've seen it happen so many times that those chickens, those little seeds that they planted out there surreptitiously has backfired on them badly. Badly. Now, again, not all their fault. Not all their fault. There are many bad people out there. There's many bad governments out there in the world that just don't care about freedom. They don't care about people's rights. They're dictatorships. One of which, by the way, in case you have forgotten, today, the biggest dictatorship, even though they say it or not, the biggest forget people's freedom, is Russia, still to this day. And who is Trump siding with and like bringing up his name all the time? And he was so hard done by. Oh, the Hunter Biden thing is so hard done by. Poor Vladimir Putin. Oh my goodness! The second that got said in front of Zelensky, in front of him, they're talking. Oh, poor Putin. Oh, the poor guy. He's so hard done by. Are you? What low information, vacuous. How can anybody that has any understanding of, I don't read the paper every day. How can the president of the United States in the 21st century, in 2025, say, oh, poor Putin, poor Russia is being so hard done by? I didn't see Ukraine invading Russia. That's not what happened. Like, are you kidding me? And he's like, sing my praises. I didn't hear a thank you, says Vance. The guy's in the middle of a freaking war. He's trying to save his country. He came to you for aid. He came to you hands open, and you insulted to his face. You started talking about praising the guy who invaded his country. What do you think's going to happen? What do you think's going to happen when our prime minister stands up for Canada and saying, no, our country's, no, you are not going to be the 51st state, like literally ever. Like, if you want to become the 11th province and have free healthcare, got you covered. But it's like, but he just, and this is the bigger meta issue. He just keeps on saying stuff. He just keeps on saying it. He just keeps on blathering. Like, not like this blathering, because nobody cares about this. But he keeps on blathering. He just says so much and kicks the anthill. This is the analogy. Trump goes out there every single day and kicks an anthill to watch the people scurrying around. They're so busy. You were so busy trying to keep up with stuff he said 3 weeks ago and 2 weeks ago and last week and yesterday and the weekend. Like, the news is 24/7, and before, years ago, there was nothing from the sense. He kept on repeating stories and stories, and that's how some people got their fame and fortune and everything that goes with it. But now Trump says stuff like literally all the time that has to be parsed and looked at and understood and blah blah blah. And you got these pundits talking about Trump. What's he going to say next? He's just keeping everybody off kilter. Literally, he's keeping everybody off kilter because we don't know what's coming next. He is so unhinged. There has been no consistency. There's been no, besides the lack of consistency with this guy. He keeps on just blathering and throwing stuff out there, seeing what sticks, seeing what's gonna, because then he can just keep on doing what he's doing. And we're so busy trying to catch up and understand and trying to work out. And we got, for the last 4 weeks now, with the Canada's the 51st state, and then the other stuff. And then Zelensky, this one's going to go on for a bunch of weeks, and he's going to come up with something tomorrow, and something the next day that's going to piss more people off, and then blah blah blah. And so there's going to be no peace in our time. There's going to be no understanding in our time for the next 4 years, 3 years and 3.75 years. There's going to be no pause to take a breath in the next 3.5 years. And then, of course, now they're trying to get laws passed. The other part that I really liked is that they say, J.D. Vance and Trump say, oh, the executive branch doesn't have to be beholden to the Supreme Court. Not just about the Supreme Court's going to roll them in anyway, because roll them back anyway, because the Supreme Court is basically all, leaning very much conservative. But they were the last best hope to stop Trump from doing stupid crap. And then all of a sudden they say, when they started talking about it, that they could stop Trump from doing something terribly bad. Now Trump says, I am the president. I can just sign an executive order, and it doesn't have to conform to the Constitution because I'm the executive branch. And it's like, so that's yet one more thing to worry about, one more thing where the pundits and everybody's like up in arms about and pulling out their hair and what's going to happen next. And so we are going to be completely off kilter for the next almost 4 years, because that's the way he is. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about anybody besides his ego. He doesn't care about his wife. He doesn't care about his kids. He talks about his kids. He doesn't care about his kids. If he could throw his kids under the bus to save himself, that's what he's going to do. He is George Costanza in that one episode when he's in the can and there's a fire and he comes running out and he pushes the old ladies out of the way to run out of the house first. He is George Costanza. He talks doesn't even talk a great line. He talks like he knows what he's talking about every single day. But the second, somebody else, it was his previous vice president who was the problem. I don't see him being his vice president now. Because there's no way his first vice president's ever going to be with me again. Because he didn't mind the idea that his vice president's going to be hung on a gallows in front of the Capitol building. Because that's what those guys wanted to do. That's what the rioters want. Well, no, they didn't. They built a freaking gallows. But they weren't going to hang a person. It's like they built a gallows. It's just, oh my God. It is just, and so all that said, I said that we have to, as not just Canada, but the entire world has to start weaning ourselves off of America, especially the politics, and start just creating our own trade agreements and our own mutual defense contracts and whatever, and forget the Americans. Like, yes, they got the largest fleet. That's, they got more military than the next 26 biggest countries combined. We've all known this. We know this for a long time, but that's irrelevant. It's honestly irrelevant in this stature right now, in this zone that we are in right now. It's irrelevant. If Canada wants, we're working with the EU on stuff. We're going to support Zelensky. Thank you, Justin, for saying that. As well as every other country, except for, wait for it, which country's not going to support Zelensky in Ukraine? Oh, right, Russia. And what's the other one? The USA. Like, you are on the side of Russia. Americans, you are on the side of Russia. There was a Cold War. Do you remember this? I remember this Cold War. You were on the side. Oh, but we were on the same side as Russia in World War II. Okay. If you want to talk about that for a sec. Like, I heard this. Oh, but Russia's not that bad. We were allies with them in World War II. Yeah, let me reiterate those three words. World War II. It's like, And we weren't necessarily, there was the US and the UK, the Brits and the Americans, the Canadians, and then there was Russia. In World War II, Russia took care of their front, and we allies took care of the rest of it. It's like, so to say Russia, we were like right in cahoots with Russia. It was an opportunity thing more than let's be friends. But beyond that, if you knew anything about history, but beyond, I didn't see Russia's fighting over there in Japan. I didn't see that. No, it was us. It was like we took care of the rest of the war. They only worried about their little front there. But anyway, again, not a historian. But we have to start weaning ourselves off of the American political stuff, and just because the way I also would phrase this right now, and just by watching what happened on the weekend and everything on the press conferences, and that little blonde thing that just cannot tell a truth about anything. Trump is throwing a tantrum. He's 5 years old. He's throwing tantrums. That's what he is doing. He's just throwing a lot of stuff out there that he thinks he can get away with because he's the president of the United States. He's throwing a tantrum. And what has to happen for the rest of the world is to give the U.S. a timeout. Give him a timeout. Trump, stand in front of a microphone all you want. But if there's nobody there to listen to you, who cares? It is like, that's what should happen. The rest of the world should just move on. Again, not to completely ignore the states. Do what you can. If they want to make inroads into having whatever an understanding, sure. But up until the doofus in charge, until the traitor, because he is, January 6th shows these, until the 32 times convicted. I don't care if he gets them overruled or because he's president now. Doesn't matter until Stormy Daniels stuff. Like, you evangelicals, like, you are just I can't even understand. All you wanted was power. You are the least Christ-like I've ever seen the church. Any evangelical that supported this guy, any Christian who has supported this guy, any religious person who supported this guy, you are the least of Jesus by doing that. It is like disgusting that you would compromise your Christian values so much to adhere to this. How many affairs has he had? He was sleeping with his future third wife while he was still married to his second wife while she was pregnant. You guys are just, but he's going to save the country. This is saving? What's your gas prices down there? What's your food? $14 for a flat of yikes. I have friends in the state. They keep me posted. It is ludicrously bad down there. But maybe not for you, because everything's good for you. But forget help the poor, the helpless, the widowed, the whatever. Forget all those people. Forget your Bible. Forget your do unto others. Forget all that. Let's deport everybody that's not American. So here we go. Where's your papers? It's like, here we go. I will not, and of course they don't say it, but there are internment camps down there, and it's like, because they have to get these people away from their families and ready to ship off. So good luck with that. But anyway, it is so sad how far and how deep the rot goes. And it's so sad that all the people who talked a good line for the last 50 years, the church saying that we are to be here for the poor and helpless and the widows and everybody else, and they just nope, they smelt the power that Trump can give them, because he did, and they just dropped all of their values to follow this capricious, this fatuous, this absolute malcontent of a man, this little man child. That rant he had on TV the other day towards Zelensky, the man-child that you guys have running that country now. The elder statesman is long gone. And the people who support this man-child, that this absolutely, in any other context, this guy would be on a street corner with a placard saying the end is nigh, and people would just ignore him. When he did a stupid little show, not that I never watched it, but when he did a stupid little show, you are fired or whatever. Put him on TV and put a camera in front of him. If you satiate his ego, let him go, because it doesn't affect anybody. But now he is affecting literally everybody, and we are allowing him to affect us. That's the biggest concern. That's why I'm saying this. This is the biggest concern. We are allowing him to affect us negatively because he's a president. He's a president. Well, the president isn't God. The president isn't the second coming of Christ. The president, especially this one, is the biggest doofus I've ever seen on TV. The biggest know-nothing. The biggest ego. Is just absolutely, like, is blatantly obvious. So again, we wean ourselves off of this. We just go on and we do what we have to do without. If they want to come again, we should all walk in this direction. Trump can be over here blowing up whatever he wants to blow up, although that's bad. But he can But we external people, and I also said this in my video, we external countries cannot fix America's internal problems. We can't do that. This is what America was doing in the 50s and 60s and 70s with Nicaragua and Saddam Hussein and all that stuff. You do the research. What did Rumsfeld do back there, like when they're meddling in the affairs of other countries? We cannot do that. We cannot do that, and not physically as well. There's no way we can do it. But if we shouldn't do it. We shouldn't do that. They made their beds. Now they have to live with that. But we, as the rest of the world, have to say, well, they go through their little internal strife down there, and people are going to die. People are going to be bad. People are going to be injured. People are going to be poor. People are going to get more poor. But while the Americans are going through their little angst, the rest of the world has to take care of the rest of the world and not forget about them, but move on without them. Start making our own deals. Start making our own trade agreements, start making our own security agreements, start making our own whatever, peace in our, not necessarily peace in our time, because I don't want to be Chamberlain, but we have to start making our own little things with all the other countries and just say, until the Americans want to grow up and stop throwing a tantrum every time they don't get what they want. I remember years ago, they were talking about overhauling the UN because the UN has no teeth, and I agree with that. But they said because every time they tried to point out that Russia was being bad, the Russia's one of the big five that can veto anything that the UN says. So they have to couch what they say. Well, then forget the UN, not forget the UN, because the UN is also important. But if one country who is doing bad can veto stuff where we tell them they're doing bad, then they can't be part of that. We have to overhaul if we want to move into the 21st century and get to the 22nd century in a beautiful fashion, we have to start overhauling our existing infrastructure of rules and regulations between countries instead of basing them on what happened from 1945. And then, of course, the predecessor to League of Nations and all this stuff. We have to be better. We have to say, I mean, not that the Earth should come up right now, but we have to have I say this about a lot of things. We have to have an overarching omnibus people that say that country's doing something wrong. We're not even just going to put a little protest on paper and vote on it. That the country, we will send people in to stop that, genocides and the invasions of other countries. That we will stop it. We will stand against that as the world. And if you don't like it, I wanted again to come back to Babylon 5, which I adore. The Rangers. That's what should happen. That there should be a force that says, "Oh, Russia's invading the Ukraine. We're gonna send the world is going to send troops from all the different countries. So that it's not one country making. The world's going to send their troops in to stop that infiltration. If a country has some internal strife, unless we're invited to help with it, then they're going to go through their internal strife. But the second their internal strife starts spilling over to other countries, we stop it. We stop it. And again, since I love science fiction, I've seen all this in Star Trek and Babylon 5 and even other things. I'm always optimistic. I'm a hopeless romantic of optimism. I'm a person who watches a lot of science fiction and reads a lot of stories about utopias and stuff like that. And I know it's not really attainable, but there is a point where we can say this is where we have to draw the line, again, Star Trek, and no further. And we stand up to bullies. And right now, the two bullies on the planet are in cahoots with each other. But anyway, that's 40 minutes of me just blathering on about nothing that nobody else is going to listen to. And if I've lost followers, trust me on this one, no loss to me, because if I lost followers in this one, it's because you're pro-Trump. And right now, I can't even understand. Nobody has yet to convince me or make a case that I should be convinced that being pro-Trump is a good thing. What I do get is, you don't like Trump? You said you don't like Trump? I'm taking my ball and I'm leaving. Well, that doesn't help. Like, it is so bad. But again, it doesn't matter to me. It really, honest to goodness, does not matter to me, because I'm walking in this direction. And I'll keep on saying it. I am walking in this direction until somebody convinces me otherwise. Convinces me with justified, cogent, rational reasons why I shouldn't be walking in this direction. And thus far, no Trumpster, he's a Trumpster fire, no Trumpster has ever came up with anything cogent. Insults, fallacies, lies, maybe not necessarily from them, but lies they've been told that they're reiterating to me. They have come up with literally nothing that convinces me or should convince anybody that this is a good thing. What I saw this weekend cannot ever be considered a good thing for anybody besides Trump and the people who don't understand anything else and just want to believe this guy. Nothing has ever been conveyed to me, ever, since the first term that guy was there. Nothing has been conveyed to me that this guy has been any good. There's been, but he did this and this was good for a minute, and then he screwed it up. Just again, the textbook example is that he started to get a new trade agreement between the two biggest trading partners the U.S. has. And he says, I can't believe the old trade agreement and how bad it was. Who signed that old trade agreement? It was him the first time he was president. But you didn't remember that he canceled NAFTA. And NAFTA wasn't perfect, but NAFTA was pretty good for decades. But he canceled NAFTA because he didn't like that trade agreement that was being unfair to the U.S. Was it? I'm not a numbers expert, but overall, the rest of the presidents were happy. Canada was happy. Mexico, everyone was happy. But he says, no, not a good enough deal. So he comes up with I forget the acronym. I don't care about the acronym. It's the replacement of NAFTA. And then he signs it. And then Canada signs it. And Mexico signs it. And then he becomes president again. That was a bad trade agreement. Who signed off on that one? You did, you fatuous little piece of nothing. You did. You created that one. And yet the rest, the people who support Trump, oh, no, he didn't. Oh, no, that was done before him. That was Obama. That was Biden. That was whoever else. No, it wasn't. It was Trump. And then he came up with a new one and said the old one was bad because whoever signed it doesn't know what they're doing. It was him. And this is the frustrating part. You guys don't care about truth. You don't care about truth. You don't care about justice. You obviously don't care about justice because those January 6 people were all released from prison. All of them were released from prison. They tried to do a coup. Oh no, they're just smelling flowers and kissing kids and bringing daisies to people. People died. People died during that insurrection. And I knew it was just a party. It's just like the clown boy that was in Ottawa, but I won't even go into that because we're not talking about that. And again, if you're supportive of the clown boy in Canada, you can leave my channel because there's no way. Again, that's a whole other tangent. But it's just like you guys don't care about the truth. You don't. You think anybody who brings this stuff up is wrong without knowing that you're wrong. You just, I'll get bad comments in my thread, which I got last time when I mentioned I'm not a pro-Trump guy. I hate you, Dave. I can't believe I followed your channel. I'm leaving now. Don't tell me you're leaving. Don't. If I don't like something, I leave. I don't go to the house and say, "Oh, I just leave. If I'm not comfortable with something, I've been to parties before that I wasn't comfortable at when I was younger, or in a situation where I'm not comfortable, or I don't like the person, or somebody shows up that I don't like. Not that I don't think up until the crap at Neighbors, I don't think there was anything I didn't like. But I don't need to announce my departure. I am not an airport. So if you don't, just unfollow, have a nice life. And again, no hard feelings from me. Absolutely none. This is my stance. It's the truthful stance. It's the absolute truthful stance in this situation. But it is my stance. And you getting pissy by posting something makes my case. If anybody out there is going on about Trump and I have to tell him off and blah, 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 you made my point. You just made my point. Fatuous, vacuous, capricious, narcissistic, moron, man-child running that country. The fact that you have to feel that you have to defend this guy when you know you can't. You think you can defend this guy? That he needs your defense of what he is doing to the world? You made my case. So if you respond and call me names, whatever. I've been called names before. I've been a geek literally my entire life. This is what I was going through the talk about the first one about whatever. But I've been a geek literally my entire life. I was a avid Star Trek watcher at the age of 4. I loved science fiction since I remember. I would read Tolkien in the cafeteria at school. That's what I would do. I would have Tolkien. Now again, I never had a Star Trek uniform in my closet. I just never wanted to. But if I wanted to, I would have had one. I would have been like Leonard with all the Battlestar Galactica flight suits. Absolutely. If you think people haven't insulted me before in my life, you're just, are you out of your tree? I am a card-carrying geek. Been so for 50, almost 8 years, card-carrying geek. And in the 70s and 80s, it wasn't cool to be a geek. It started getting cool after Revenge of the Nerds. Started becoming cool when Star Trek took off into the mainstream. It started being cool when Star Wars became the biggest thing on the planet. But okay, I guess that's another tangent. I'm not going to go into it. But people insulting me, it's like when water's wet. Your insults mean zero to me. So it would be better off for you if you don't want to deal with me and my opinion, my truthful opinion about the world, to just leave. See bye. I have no hard feelings towards you. If you take the time to respond to me, you obviously have hard feelings towards me. And have a nice life with that. Anyway, it is 48 minutes into this, and this is like my third rant this week, although I filmed the first 2 earlier. I might get into Lego stuff. I don't know. I've been so busy with work and life around the house that I haven't been down here in a while. So it is kind of sad down here, actually. But Josh has been having fun, and I'm letting him have his fun. So in the end, my final analysis, we have to wean ourselves off of America. They can be the center of themselves. Fine. American exceptionalism, have at it. Americans can believe in their American exceptionalism. They have done some fantastic things over the last since 1776. They've absolutely have done some fantastic things. I think I didn't want this to go on. I think what happens, I'm not a psychologist or whatever. I think what happens is that when you are brought up in an environment where you venerate, where you absolutely venerate, where you set up on a pedestal on high to be almost worshipped, when you venerate the forebearers, the forefathers of your country and what they did, they stood up to the man. And we have that in our genes, that we stood up to the man and we let him know what for. And we threw a tea party and we had a war. Like let's be perfectly honest. And people say this, that war between, well, the British and the Americans wasn't a war. It was a bunch of skirmishes. but I'm not going to deflect but that happened in 1776. That we're standing up to the man. Taxation without representation is wrong. And it was. Don't get me wrong. It absolutely was. There was reasons, and the forefathers were fantastic. There were reasons. But a scant 80 years later, so the 1776 revolution happened and America became a country. And there's, yay! 80 years later, Canada, without one shot being fired, without one person dying, without one revolutionary whatever, became a country on its own, just by playing the game, I guess you want to call it that. Again, we talked about this too. Would we have become a country into and of ourselves had the revolution not happened 80 years earlier? I don't know. Prognostications, maybe not. I know that all empires fail eventually. The Roman Empire fell, the British Empire fell, because again, the U.S. wasn't the first. The colonies were not the first of people to remove themselves or try to remove themselves from the British Empire. The British Empire was failing. They didn't have the logistics and the infrastructure to maintain everything. So yeah, the people went off in their own merry way. And so yes, the sun never set on the British Empire prior to 1776. But in the end, and again, so this is the weighing the pros and cons. It was going to split up anyway. No, that helped. Thank you. Absolutely helped. But in the end, 80 years later, hey, country, here we are. And then go from 1867 to 2025, when all of a sudden the Americans say, maybe Canada should become part of America. Go to hell. Go to hell. I am 58 years old. The minute there's even a whiff of a transgression into Canada, I am going down to that recruitment center and I'm going to get it, whatever I can to stop you, period. And I'm going to mention this. There's no guile here. There is literally no way I'm not going to fight you until my last breath. You do not get this country as long as I'm alive. You don't get it. Trump, you don't get this country as long as I'm alive. But anyway, that's it. That's all. I had so many other things to say. I had a little 2-paragraph thing in my Facebook, but it's been eating at me because there is so much here. There's so much nuance. There's so much world understanding. There's so much historical understanding. There's so much political understanding. There's so much whatever. And you know who doesn't care about any of that? The doofus in charge down south. No, he doesn't care. He cares about himself and his ego. And Zelensky didn't kiss his ring. He wants to be the Pope. He wants to be the guy that everybody kisses up. If you're not kissing his ass, then he's going to throw you under the bus. He threw Zelensky under the bus because Zelensky did not kiss his ass. You guys want that as a leader? Like, seriously? You Americans who have been so libertarian, gosh darn star-spangled awesome, who said, I'm going to stand up to the man and liberty and freedom for all, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We the people, in order to preserve a most beautiful union, I can't remember the actual words, And you're letting this guy speak for you as your representative who says, I don't care about the Constitution. I don't care about the Supreme Court. I don't care about the Congress. I don't care about the Senate. I don't care about the states' rights. I don't give a flying F about any of that. I care about what I'm going to get out of this. He's blatantly said that. And you guys, oh, he's the second coming. He's the best thing that. Your forefathers are rolling over in their graves right now. Jefferson, Washington, all of them. They're rolling over, Adams, they're rolling over in their graves right now. Absolutely. To see, if they were alive today, they'd slap you across the face. they would slap you across the face. That you got this guy as president. That you guys voted for this guy as president. They would just slap you across the face. Saying, are you kidding me? After everything that we did. Again, because a lot of things they did right. A lot of things they did wrong, but a lot of things they did right. Again, I'm not going to diminish the revolution and standing up to the man, even though we became a country ourselves. I'm sure that was part of it. They did a lot of things. They felt the God-given right to do this. They had to do this because taxation was a representation and everything else that was wrong with it. You watch all those old movies and you read all your old history books. They could actually write coherent sentences that had a subject and a predicate and a fully formed sentence, not what Trump speaks on any given day. You're trying to parse his sentences. What's he actually like? We know what he's saying, but there's incoherence there. He just goes on for, when he was talking about Putin, it was like for 10 paragraphs, he's talking about Putin, how wonderful he is. But in the end, completely incoherent per sentence. It's like, anyway, 56 minutes. I keep going. That's it. That's all. I'm going to bed now. Tomorrow's yet another day. I'm going to try to do other stuff, but it's going to be a busy week. So we'll see what happens. Everybody is, with all sincerity, everybody out there, stay safe. Everybody take care. If you're here after this video, thank you. If you're not here after this video, thank you. Have a good life. Anybody, everybody who are here or not here. We'll see you on the other side. See ya. Bye.